So welcome to the Unity Project. Hi, Joel. I'm so glad to have you on, especially since it's your birthday today.
Woo.
So
Thank
thank
you.
you for showing up. Um, this is my second recording of the Unity Project, and I'm really excited to talk to Joel about some of the systems he's created in the book that he's written. It's called Indriya Yoga. Did I say that right?
Indra yoga. Yeah.
Indriya Yoga. And I'll let him tell you about it. So tell me, like, what inspired you to start this?
Um, I fell in love with meditation. I was going through a rough period in my life, and it was really bad depression, blaming everybody but myself, basically. And somebody had told me about meditation can help people with ADHD and emotional dysregulation, all that kind of stuff. And I didn't know how to do it. I looked online everywhere at the beginning of quarantine. And one day writing this scathing text. And instead of pressing the send button, I just put the phone down, rested my hand as a steering wheel. I'm like, all right, I can only think of this thought so many times. It's got to disappear at some point. There's got to be something to this meditation. I sat there for like 18 minutes. And then eventually the thought loop, the catastrophization started getting quieter and quieter and quieter.
Mm.
And it felt like I fell asleep at the wheel. Like it was just this jolting sensation.
Whoa.
And instantly I'm like, why was I angry? What was I gonna do? And I picked up my phone and looked at the text and I was like, oh, I knew right away that if I would have sent that, now I would have had to create an identity to that garbage that I almost sent. And I at that moment I got to see how powerful meditation is and how it will shift you out of your limbic logic and back into your prefrontal cortex, executive function, all the good things, all the brain, our logic. And
Yeah.
I just kept hammering it. And something told me that jolt, that was a doorway of some kind. So I just kept waiting and waiting. I didn't know what I was doing. And so I kind of created my own thing, thinking that I had the answer to, all the meditation uh, questions. I decided to get certified through Radiant Sutra School of Meditation. It's instinctual meditation program, and that's where I met Dr. Lauren Roach, and he taught me from a PhD perspective of how our senses create our reality and how to stimulate these senses in meditation. And this is what meditation actually is. It's a uh it's a moment of relaxation. You get relaxed, you relax your nervous system to the point where you can sense things you couldn't sense, you could feel things you couldn't feel before. The whole purpose of sitting in silence is so that your nervous system is rested enough that even a drop of water landing on you would send you into bliss and your goosebumps everywhere. That's
Yeah.
that's meditation.
It's
And
interesting how it expands your senses, but then also it will totally like turn you off to some senses. Like when I was meditating the other day, the doorbell rang and my dog barked. I didn't hear any of it.
yeah,
So, and I was awake. So it's like, but some of the senses are so heightened. Have you noticed that?
yes, yes, that is that's your sense hierarchy. So once you're in meditation, one of the practices is just to let it go. Let your instincts guide you in the meditation. When a good way to describe sense hierarchy is if you're cooking bread, you're
Hmm.
smelling the bread, you're smelling the dough and everything. You're putting it in the oven. As soon as you close it, you switch your focus somewhere else. The smell kind of disappears. It's still in the house, but you don't realize it until you reopen that oven and then you smell
Yes,
that bread again.
that's a good
That's
analogy.
Yeah, that's our sense hierarchy. And in
Hmm.
meditation, the more you pay attention to it fluctuating or not fluctuating, the more beneficial the practice is. And once you get to a point where you can actually shift manually your sense hierarchy, you can, like you did, you heightened your senses and focused them to a single point, magnifying this whatever you're focusing on.
Yeah.
That is the path of self mastery. So self-mastery is developing a relationship with this adjustable sense hierarchy.
Interesting. I like that.
Yeah. And the Indra is yaga is the worship of Indriya is the senses in
Mm,
Sanskrit. So it's the worship
yes.
of the senses. Indra yoga is the union of the senses because yoga is union. And
Mm,
this book that I'm putting together, it's maybe 50 pages. I can do it pretty quickly, very, very basically. But going over some of the topics I've just talked about, how understanding our sense hierarchy, most importantly, understanding our sense modalities. These modalities that we have, like somewhere around 30, maybe more, maybe less, but they're they tell us of our inner world. They comprise what
okay.
everybody has called the third eye. Through, it's the mythical third eye.
Mm-hmm.
How to open it? Well, you got to pay attention to these modalities. And through worshiping the senses, that's how we do it. Mindfulness. Um, Something as simple as holding your breath long enough that you can feel the intensity. It's almost like an anxiety that you can feel. And then just feathering your breath lightly and just playing with to see how intense you can get it before your mind's like, no, we got to breathe. We got to breathe. Just listen to your mind start freaking out.
Oh, yeah.
At the same time, you're listening to your ego going nuts. At the same time, you're building an inner fire. So you're just doing this,
Do you
building this.
remember though when we couldn't tell the difference between us and our ego?
Yes. Oh, yeah, there's still some times we get caught up.
Oh, definitely. But like I used to have like zero awareness of the
Yeah,
difference.
yeah, yeah, oh, man, and that usually leads to depression.
Yeah.
That's that was me. Get to the point of depression, you're not feeling anything, you're not sensing much of the world anymore, and then something just slaps you, like, "Oh, there's the world."
Yes,
But
that's how it happens too.
yeah, yeah.
What slapped you?
Almost cutting my fingers off in a saw. I
Okay.
was doing something incredibly dumb for somebody who knows so much about construction and the trades. My mind
Mm,
wasn't obviously my mind wasn't there. I'm depressed, and I had a chop saw, one of those miter saws, and I
shit.
had a piece of wood sitting here. Normally, you hold it against the fence so that it pressure goes backwards, the salt, whatever. I had my fingers in between the wood and the fence. Yeah, and it clapped so hard that instantly I thought my fingers are gone. And I had that moment where the rest of my life is without these fingers on my left hand. I'm not going to be able to do certain types of sculpting. My whole life flashed before my eyes just from that. But at the same time, I witnessed the entire scenery. My entire environment went vibrant. Like the grass got greener, the clouds got whiter, and the sky got bluer. Felt like
Yeah.
somebody pulled a lead weight off of me. And this voice just said, "You idiot. You're the only one who feels sorry for you." And I started laughing. Still, I didn't know if I had fingers. And yeah, that was after the meditation. I started doing the
Okay.
meditation. So the meditation must have opened up something.
Something. Yep.
Yeah. And that's when I got obsessed with the mind and neuroscience and understanding the limbic and the prefrontal shifting and yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And
And
it was
like, and is it like an embodied like mind practice, like an embodied mindfulness practice?
hmm, it's more yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like using your mind to stimulate the senses manually.
Okay.
Using your thoughts, using these things that this is what I learned that a lot of us do naturally. We create anxiety this way. Is
Oh
that
yeah.
we'll think about a person and this person triggers us. And all we can do all day long is think about how this person said something and now we're interpreting it in 500 different ways. It's create every time you predict why they said that, you're creating anxiety.
Right. A
So once you get
constriction around
this
the flow.
yeah. Well, once you get used to the, holding your breath and creating this inner light, that's how you can get rid of that anxiety. So when
Mm-hmm.
when your mind is doing its thing and trying to build anxiety, just hold your breath for a minute and then switch the meaning. Say, okay, this feeling I'm feeling isn't from what I'm thinking. It's from thing I'm doing mechanically now. I'm breathing. I'm holding my breath. I'm feathering it out. And then instantly that thought goes away.
Yeah, it's a powerful method.
Hmm.
Hmm.
It's basically,
Devotion to the senses. I mean, that alone is embodied.
yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, the blood oxygen sense. And then there's the mechanoreceptors. You know, I move a lot. It's because we've got chakras. Everywhere there's a joint, there's a chakra or a mechanoreceptor or a proprioceptor. You can tell how far away your arm is, even if you couldn't see. You always know the positions of your limb.
Hmm.
If you do it slow enough, you'll feel a slight dopamine stimulation. Same thing
Okay. Yeah,
with
yeah.
more Tai Chi movements.
Ah, uh-huh.
So Tai Chi is all about stimulating little bits of dopamine and make the practice just that much
Interesting. That sounds
more interesting.
lovely.
Yeah.
I need some bits of dopamine stimulated.
Oh yes.
Yoga does it
Oh,
too, right? But I guess Tai Chi because all of the like,
yeah. Hmm.
yeah.
Some people are more movement based when meditation, and they need
I
some
like to
kind of
move.
stimulation. A good one is if you're fully relaxed, your spine's erect, kind of loose, and then you imagine that your spine kind of moves like a snake. It kind of has a little bit of a soft slithering motion, and it gets smaller and smaller, almost to the point where you're like, am I really even moving, or is it my imagination? And it should simulate something. There's vestibular, like you can even add a little bit of a head tilt to it as your spine is moving. Woo.
I'm gonna do that later.
Yeah, definitely do that one later.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah,
Awesome.
stimulating the senses. There's the Vijnana Bhairava Tantra, 800-year-old tantric text, from Kashmir Shaivism is where I get a lot of this
Mm.
stuff from.
Hmm.
It's translated. There's 112 different meditative practices. They're all sutras, and they range from spinning in circles to the point where you have to fall down and then just being with what your body is stimulating, which is way too intense for me,
That
to
sounds lovely to me.
walking outside, relaxing your face on a sunny day, and then gazing ever slowly, slowly, slowly to the sun until you get this slight stimulation in your sinuses that cause you to sneeze,
Oh yeah, I have done that.
right? Synesthesia.
This
Synesthesia.
weekend, this past weekend. Yes. Is that what that is? Synesthesia?
Synesthesia.
I
Yeah,
didn't know
that's
that that was
such a
synesthesia.
powerful meditative practice. If you
Yeah.
can simulate any kind of synesthesia, that's
Okay. I've had that. I
yeah.
just it happens for me spontaneously. Like the other day, um, I'm working with this medicine called Sananga,
Hmm.
and I would say that this is the first time I've worked with this medicine since my nervous system has just been in a really good place.
Okay.
So my root chakra is like just open.
Hmm.
So now I worked with the medicine. Are you familiar with Sananga?
No.
Okay. So Sananga means lightning in the eyes.
All right.
Yeah. It's these really hot eye drops. So I lay back in bed and I'm like putting them in my eyes. And then I count 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And I still won't open my eyes. I like try, but I won't because it burns. And then, when you finally do, it's like battery acid in the eyes. And instead of just screaming, you do a over and over and over to kind of just like open up different energy channels in your body.
Hmm.
So the other night or the other morning, I was doing it and my voice started like getting really wobbly and going really deep inside me. I'm like, like it was like something I couldn't really control.
Okay.
and it like unlocked something like right here.
Okay.
And then I got out of the experience, right? I could open my eyes and I meditated for a little bit. And then I went to put like some music on YouTube and this video popped up. It was like some kind of channeling. I usually don't listen to those things, but I felt compelled to listen to it.
Mhm.
So as I was listening to it, I started feeling colors all around me. And I just became like consumed with like so much love and presence and just gratitude that I called my mom and I was like, thank you so much for everything. I love you so much. You were actually the perfect mother for me.
Wow. That's
It
powerful.
was really beautiful. So,
Yeah.
yeah, this medicine is amazing. I don't know where I was going with that, but it was linked to something that you were talking about.
Yeah, you're stimulating certain types of senses, even if
Yeah.
it's mechanical. And like when I tell people to, if they want to drink spiritually, drink something strong enough that you can stimulate the senses just by smelling it. Process that a little bit. Feel where it's happening in your sinuses. Sometimes you can
Okay.
even feel your sinuses like moving.
So you mean like if you want to consume alcohol or drink anything?
Alcohol.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Drinking
agree. If you
alcohol
can
is
get all
fine,
of your senses on board and it's pleasurable, it's
right?
yeah,
Right, and but
totally.
you play with your sense hierarchy. First, you get your sinuses involved. You smell it, let that settle for a minute. Then you taste it a little bit. Let your taste buds get used to it, and then when you
Yeah.
drink it, you'll have such an awareness of that burning sensation going all the way, and just keep following the burning sensation all the way down to your stomach.
Yeah.
And
I
it's
like never drink, but I could every once in a while maybe go for like a little bit of an old fashioned.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's what I do. Something strong enough to feel it and say, "Oh, I'm not. I'm good."
So tell me about Joel before awakening and Joel after awakening. What do you think is the most profound change you've experienced in your life as a result of this yoga and these processes?
Oof. Um, Okay. So before 2020, I was uh, an air conditioning technician for 30 years. I was identified as somebody who does the hard stuff. I'm living in Florida. I've been in thousands of attics. Heat doesn't bother me. It keeps me flexible. I've always liked the attic, hot yogas, whatever. Addicts to the original hot yoga. Um, but when I started a company with my wife, which is something I don't recommend, don't recommend that. Um, I didn't realize I had a limited time on this body. The body I was identifying with a finite body. I was this, you know, husband, father, business
Mm,
owner, super AC guy, and I did most of the stuff by side. I never really worked with my brain very much. Well, once my body started breaking down, I wasn't able to perform properly, and that's when the fighting started and the resentments and the horrible self-worth and depression and
yeah.
you know midlife crisis.
The dark night of the soul.
Oh, it was a dark one.
Yeah,
It
I
was a dark
bet.
one. um and then I had the awakening and then the meditative experience. And I it led to very many rabbit holes, very, very many,
Oh yeah, especially
so
like
many.
after 2020, everything that was
Yes. Yeah, and everything was online. You couldn't do anything,
well, you
I
learn
uh,
like as you go along in this journey, like deeper and deeper discernment,
mhm.
right?
Yeah,
And I feel like that's a lot of the path is just like growing like discernment and openness and allowing them to exist like cohesively.
yeah. I would say probably the biggest, and I recommend this to everybody, is journaling. The first 3 months of after
Hmm.
my awakening, I
It's a
was
really
journaling
important process.
everything that triggered me. Every emotion, every time that I wanted to text my soon to be ex something bad, I would write the text. I wouldn't text it. I would write it down so that I
Mm-hmm.
process it later. Just 3 months of doing that opened up enough space that I wasn't so reactive anymore.
Isn't
It,
that interesting? Like how it is literally like opening up space, like you literally feel more
yeah,
spaciousness inside of your body and your cells.
yeah, yeah. It's like you've been driving on the roads your entire life and there's been no yellow lights. It just goes from green to red, green to red. And then finally you see the yellow light, and it's like, oh, I have a choice.
Wow.
Yeah. And that was huge for me in and learning about my neurodivergencies, what ADHD is, all the symptoms involved with that, how it controlled certain aspects of my life, why I can't get motivated when I should be motivated. And that was huge.
So prior to the meditation, which coping mechanisms did you have that you found like really easy to let go of, and which are some that you found like a little harder?
Masking. Yeah,
Hmm.
psychological masking, like having
Yeah.
to be the person that everybody told me I was, and then having to be the people pleaser and the guy who makes peace of everything, doesn't ever fight with anybody, and is afraid to act weird in public because yeah, y- being unauthentic, like understanding myself better, especially the way my brain was designed, developed, whatever you want to call it, the acceptance of it, it gave me an authenticity and that was in that space, allowing to see my own behaviors, witnessing, creating the space to see my own behavior, basically. Jnana yoga,
Yes.
the path of
Mm.
knowledge, introspection, always going and asking, who am I? Who am I? Who am I? Who am I? Am I that? Nope, that's not it. That's not it.
Yeah, it's such an interesting path, right? And how
Hmm.
kind of the medicine we share is what we did to like really work through some of like the darkest shadow material and like the darkest parts of our own journey, how
Hmm.
we got ourselves out of that. And I really love working with practitioners who I know have been like in the depths,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know?
They've got the wisdom. They've been there.
Mm-hmm.
They live to tell the story, and everybody has a unique way of
Expressing it.
transmuting the pain
Yeah.
and expressing the pain.
Yeah. And like we each have like a unique divine expression that comes through us once we open to it,
Hmm.
once we come home to ourselves to really like so we can serve, and then we just attract those people that we're meant to serve. But there's so much letting go of like the scarcity and like the imposter syndrome and like all the little different things that we do contract around the flow of that one underlying thing that you were talking about earlier,
Hmm.
which is like either some people call it God, some people call it love, some people call it truth, but it's just this underflow of like energetic like isness. I'm going off on a tangent.
Hmm.
I don't understand where I was going with that now. Anyway,
I'm getting it. The energetic isness, that is something I can relate to that. I
yes.
haven't
So then,
through.
okay, thank you. So
Yeah.
I'll be really quick. So
Okay.
then, like each, it is all of us, right? Each and all of us, and it is what connects us.
Hmm.
And it's like each individual gets distorted with like different templating, traumas, conditioning, and like all that kind of stuff. And that constricts the flow of that energy in different ways in different people.
Hmm. Yeah,
Does that make sense?
it does. It does. And it's that isness.
Mm-hmm. You
That's
can
the
feel it.
mystery for most people. Right. They call it in shock. They call it Shakti in a way. The
Yeah.
Shakti shivers. It's the Holy Spirit. It's
Yeah.
Agni, fire. It's what you can feel from God,
Yep.
from source, from external stimulation. And in Indriya is Indriya Yaga is just building a relationship with that flow of energy. and how it
Mhm.
correlates with the sensory world. So the oneness that everybody talks about is like once you like if you've done psychedelics and
I was gonna
they're
ask you about
familiar,
that next.
yeah, they're familiar with it, what they call a oneness. They feel like they're one with the environment because
Have you
who
worked with psychedelics?
I did, yes,
What have you worked with?
just psilocybin.
Okay.
Yeah, that was during quarantine. That was after about 4 months of not being able to dig deep enough into my psyche. So I'm like, all right, let's see if we can break this brain of mine. Let's see how much
How do
we
you
can
feel
do.
like that worked for you?
Oh, amazing.
Cool.
It brought me into places. I was able to navigate it.
That's
I
beautiful.
developed a whole method, technique, whatever.
Mhm.
That was the first book that it's no longer published because the divorce made me take it off publication.
Oh,
That
no.
was that was the process of me getting to the point where I'm at, or where I realized the truth about myself.
These medicine journeys can be really powerful. Have you ever
Yes.
heard of Bufo?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
experienced Bufo like 2 weeks ago
Ooh.
and on January. I can tell you it changed my life. I I can't say exactly how in the
Mhm.
physical world yet because it's gonna take some time to catch up, but I feel like so much more open. It's a really somatic experience, like super somatic. Like while I experienced God, I didn't like see God. I
Mhm.
just saw like I don't even know if I saw the white light. I just was the white light.
Yep.
And yeah, I processed a few traumas that I don't even know or if they were from this lifetime.
Mhm.
Yeah, it was really interesting.
I've seen that light. I've met that light before.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it was unusual because it was almost like you can communicate with it, but it doesn't speak. It doesn't say
Yeah.
anything. Because it's like you're like, yeah, it. I saw it as our instincts. That's our nervous system. That's the inner fire. That's us basically, and that somehow we're
Totally.
perceiving. Like we're able to through our sensory system, through those sense modalities, able to perceive us as a white light or yeah.
So frigging profound. It's gonna take a while to integrate that one.
Yeah. Oh
Um,
yeah.
the second time that I received it, the medicine man had me stand and stare at the sun and
Mm,
project my soul into the sun while going out like with my hands out like this.
mhm,
And then I received the medicine and you have absolutely like zero awareness of the outside world. Like your body is doing something very different than your internal experience
mm,
as much as like you're aware, you know,
yeah,
like
interesting.
usually when people come back they have and they watch the tape of what they were doing like if you have a private ceremony like the couple I work with they do private ceremonies they're actually like such beautiful people and I'm
Mhm,
so grateful for them um
mm,
yeah so I keep losing my train of thought. It's been a long day. I actually just held a ceremony for one of my a shroom ceremony for one of my clients today so
wow,
yeah.
that's cool.
Um, but yeah, the Bufo is just really, really it's been profound. And I asked him like, how do I even explain this to anyone?
Mhm,
And he said, well, it's just they're gonna see how your life was before it and how it is after it, and that's the only explanation you can really give.
yeah, by example,
Yep.
showing them, yeah, your new openness.
Yeah.
Hmm, yeah,
So when's the
some
book
people
coming out?
ah, it is mostly finished, the manuscript part of it. I've had some I've had some, shifting of life responsibilities recently that put everything on the back burner, but I'm getting ready to jump back into it.
Sweet.
Uh, the publishing process is pretty easy now. Like the first book was a learning experience, but this one, yeah, I should have it up hopefully by the end of March.
But it's
Hopefully,
going to be so great that you have that learning experience so you can kind of have like uh like a blueprint of your growth spiritually from your first
Yeah,
book to like each one after, like
yeah,
your evolution.
yep,
I like
yeah.
that.
That's the way I see it. Yeah, that writing that book, the first book, I recommend that for everybody, even if you didn't have an interesting life, even if nobody else reads the book, because yeah, you'll
Yeah,
remember all your stories and you'll write all your stories down, but when you have to edit your life and become the editor of your life and you're time warping back into all these periods over and over and over, there's just something about that that teaches you more about yourself than any therapy ever could.
totally.
Yeah, you get to see your stories. You get to see your little characters that you played during life. You know, all your alternate realities, all your past lives, so to speak.
It's interesting. It's like we're all kind of in our own little, like, I don't think anyone could ever really see our universe, each of our universes, right?
Mhm.
But then we kind of like coexist with each other.
Yeah, yeah.
And
I
when you're
mean,
doing that deep internal work, like that's a space you can only go completely alone.
mhm. You know, I heard something back when I was in high school, like in '93, that said anything that can be done on a psychedelic can be done in meditation.
Oh yeah.
And that stuck with me my entire and it was a picture of it was I think it was a Tibetan monk that had set himself on fire in protest to the one of the wars. But it blew my mind that somebody was able to turn their sensory system off to the point where they can just burn themselves and not be in pain, not flinch, anything like that. And I never did anything with meditation my entire life until I had to, but it always stuck with me. And then once I learned how to meditate, it's like once you learn the basics, then you can start playing around with it and you
Hmm.
can start understanding these different dimensions that you can access. Uh, you can call it astral travel, you can call it lucid dreaming. Um,
You feel
there's
like there's a difference between lucid dreaming and acid or acid travel, astral travel?
um, yeah, I think so. I don't really. One of them is more you can perceive your environment from the outside of your body, and then
Mm.
like lucid dreaming is more like the hypnagogic state.
Yeah,
It's like
like I can tell that I'm dreaming kind of thing.
right,
Yeah.
right, and
Mhm.
that's where I'm playing with now. This is like my new fun meditation, and it stemmed from that very first meditation where I felt that jolt, that falling asleep at the wheel. Something told me to just keep knocking on that door. And the analogy that I like to use is every time I knocked on that door, it was carving another chip out of this cave. And this cave is my viewing cave. And once you get to a certain point, the door starts opening a little bit more, a little bit more. And eventually, like now, I can sit in that state for 2 to 5 minutes and witness my body reacting to what I'm thinking. So
Mm.
I'm witnessing the REM state. I'm feeling the twitches. Like I was in one of the viewings, I was making a sandwich for my son. And I literally grabbed my shirt and then zipped it closed like a Ziploc bag. And I felt my body do that. It was the weirdest sensation. Weird. So there's a lot of fun things you can do once you understand the mechanisms
Oh,
of
wow. That
meditation.
sounds really awesome.
Yeah.
I
And
like,
it's
see,
trippy.
yeah. I'm not like really super duper like skilled in meditation like that. I
Mhm,
do a lot of like movement stuff and
mhm.
some stillness, but it sounds like you can really go deep with it.
Yeah. Well, and just think, all right, so the whole reason why you sit up straight is so that you don't fall asleep.
Hmm.
Once you get to a point where so your vestibular set needs to be stimulated for you not to fall asleep. At some point, you can play with the vestibular enough and desensitize yourself to it that you can lay down for. I don't ever sit up in meditation. I lay down for
Wow.
everything now because
Yeah.
as
How long
long as
did it
you can
take
go.
you to be able to lay down for everything?
Oh, 2 years.
Okay.
Yeah, 2 years, like every day. It
So
takes a while.
how do you feel like the meditation would practice would change in the pathway to like renunciation versus like the pathway of like um just really going into life. Like they call it the pathway of love or the pathway of renunciation. Like you either revert into a cave or just go out into the like all of life, heart like opening and spiraling open.
Oh man. Yeah, the path of renunciation doesn't work for Americans.
Yeah.
It just doesn't. We're not indoctrinated that way. We can't. And even the poor monks that are in the monasteries, that they're never really
Well,
told.
the
It's
westernized version of renunciation, I guess.
right. The suppression of the senses, the suppression
Yeah.
of the thought. Like you can't suppress thought. Like we have to develop a relationship with our instincts, and our instincts are basically our sensory intelligence. Can't
Mm-hmm.
necessarily control it. We can just witness what it does. And the other path, which you're talking about, is living life fully and vibrantly, sensually.
Yes.
That's that's the quick path. That's the direct path. If you know how to
Authentically.
focus when you're doing it, you don't smell a rose and say this is an amazing. Or you don't say anything. You just smell it. You
Mm-hmm.
just you feel how many senses. Then you say, what memory does this trigger?
Do you feel like you
And
chose this path or do you feel like it kind of chose you?
oh, it absolutely chose me.
Yeah.
Like before 2020, I was an atheist just
Okay.
because I knew enough about Christianity and stuff to be that jerk, just to be the yeah, total ego, total spiritual ego on that one. And I was a staunch non-believer, and now I'm completely the opposite direction,
Yeah.
just in a couple of years' time.
Wow.
So yeah,
Because you were able to experience it for yourself.
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
yep.
What are your feelings on like the organized religion, like the Abrahamic religions?
I think it's taken too seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Totally.
at some point, it so, like in Hinduism, they know that these weren't actual deities. These are things designed these are dimensions of human behavior that if you
Hmm.
evoke them in yourself when you need them, they're
Yeah.
there. It's like bhakti. It's like the path of love. Like you devote yourself to this deity or whatever, and it invoke the feeling of love. And then you're supposed to swing that like a pendulum. You're supposed to like look into the eyes of the beloved, feel all warm and fuzzy, get to the point of like heartbreak, and then you go into the feeling and you just sit inside of the feeling. You
Whoa,
don't
that
need
sounds
anything.
amazing.
Yeah. Learn that from the Kabbalion. That's the
Okay.
pendulum of life. It's
Yeah.
everything. You can't hold on to any good feeling. You have to let it rest. But the next time you feel the feeling, it could be more intense. As
Mm.
long as you get that whole letting go, you got to
Yeah,
let it
that is that pendulation?
go.
Yeah.
Yeah, pendulation. Yeah,
Hmm. That's
it's
a
the play of
tantric
opposites.
exercise, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
syzygy. It's the
Huh?
syzygy. It's the yeah the flow
Yeah.
of experience,
Hmm. So
intellect, wisdom.
do you do like the tantric practices with it or do you just do the meditation or do you
Yeah,
incorporate
yeah. No, I incorporate everything.
both?
Every
Hmm.
I've learned how to stay in a meditative state all day.
In
Oh,
just 2 years, that's incredible.
yeah, yeah. Well, ADHD, woo, hyperfixation.
You hyper focused on it.
Oh, did I ever? And then it turned into a special interest, and I unlocked all kinds of fun double-edged swords. Hey, that's something that needs to be spoken of at some point, but I don't know how to deliver the message. But the quicker you dive into your own spirituality and unlock certain sensations, nerve endings, the more your ego is going to want to identify with them as
Oh
being
yeah.
special or being like, and I've seen people go into a certain type of mental illness just from being deep in meditation, and yeah. I don't know
Do
how
you
to
feel
garden
like it's an opening of the third eye without the integration of the root?
without the understanding of what, like, how should I say it? Because our feelings create our thoughts. Not the other. Everybody, the common misconception is that thoughts create feelings.
Yeah.
But when you're creating more intense and new feelings, your mind doesn't know how to think about it. So it creates a belief out of
Mhm.
it. It has to make a concept. So if they don't have enough awareness of their ego, basically, and how their ego wants to slap a meaning on every single feeling, every new thing that arises.
However, in this realm, like not every single thing, but sometimes we need like specific identity attachments to move forward and understand ourselves, but we have to
Mhm.
know when it's good to let them go and
Right.
open
Yeah. It's like
new.
a tool.
Yeah.
Labels are too my first book is actually called Becoming Dislabeled.
Really? Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I think I knew that.
Yeah. So it's a practice of using your label to get where you need to go,
Mhm.
but then don't becoming
That's all
identified
it's
as that.
for.
Yeah.
I work with women going through the twin flame experience, and I try to explain that all the time. Like, listen, you specifically are not a twin flame. This isn't the rest of your life. You're having this experience as a part of your awakening process, and however it ends up, you don't want to cling to it.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, that's hard. That's hard
Yeah.
because whether
Oh,
it's
fuck yeah,
suffering
it
or
is.
bliss, they wanna
Huh?
cling to it.
Huh?
Whether it's suffering or bliss. Yeah.
Yes.
But you
And
know what?
learning to let go of all of it, like,
Yeah.
but not in a way where you're like resisting or avoiding either one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, one of my favorite spiritual teachers of all time, and I have a special place for him, is Ram Dass.
I
And
love him.
he used to say, "Don't get attached to your methods." In so many different lectures, and that was so profound to me. It's like, yeah, you had a great experience, but don't expect it to happen again. Move on. Go to the next experience. You your mind thrives on novelty. Novelty creates new neural pathways. It's
Hmm.
literally expanding your mind.
And
You can't
surrendering
yeah,
like into, because the ego might think like my ego could have thought like I want this experience to go this way for me, and if it doesn't go this way then it's fucking a failure, right? So
yeah,
my egoic mind can only perceive to like here,
yeah,
right? To where like the unknown and the divine orchestration of it all and like my other bodies can have a much bigger like um perspective, and there's so much more like beauty and release in the surrender to the unknown.
yep,
But we try, like when we grasp onto these identity attachments, like because we need to control how things are going to go instead of using the identity attachments as a blueprint for the experience.
yeah, yeah. And it because the ego wants to identify, it wants to solidify and grasp and just keep it in one space. It's almost like trying to stop a wave.
Yeah.
You can't. You're grasping at a wave, and there's just another one that's going to come by.
Yeah.
It's futile,
That's
and it
another
causes
thing
suffering.
Bufo really teaches you is surrender, because you have no choice. Like once you receive that medicine,
Yeah.
like there's no like, oh, this is not something I want to look at. You're like, you don't get to
No,
decide.
you're looking at it.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Would you ever consider psychedelics again, or are you happy with where you are with your meditation practice?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't count anything out because if an experience happened, like there's like a big festival, not a festival, but like a retreat somewhere that might be interesting to go to see how they perform their ceremony
Hmm.
and stuff.
Yeah,
I've
it's.
been asked to guide so many people. So many I haven't, but that could also be a thing.
I
Um,
love doing
I
that.
ayahuasca, I would like to try that just because.
I
You
worked
know,
with that last year.
did you actually go to the rainforest or
No, I worked with some shamans here.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. I had some friends that did it around here somewhere. I think in
mhm.
Orlando.
Yeah, I think I know that those medicine, that couple are so beautiful.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, she explained it as, she became one with Gaia or Maya.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and that's she felt the Mother Earth within her, and yeah.
Yes, it's such, so the first time I sat with ayahuasca, I was purging and I had this beautiful sensation of just coming home to myself.
Hmm.
Yeah. I was
Wow.
just like, wow, I can't believe I've been gone for so long. And then I just like wept. It was so beautiful.
Hmm. Damn. Sounds nice. The, 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 the
It
last
was.
time I did mushrooms, I did 7 grams. And
Oh, wow. That's
with,
huge.
right, with the intent on figuring out the near death experience. Like
Okay.
this was my very last experiment. I had and I documented everything and video, whatever. I wanted to make sure I got whatever I did. And I figured out the mechanism. It's it's so your autonomic nervous system will kick in automatically on the inhale, not on the exhale so much. So I figured if I relax to a certain point, relax everything and focus my entire sense perception on that last breath, that when my autonomic nervous system kicks in, it will switch my brain off. It'll switch my ego off, basically.
Mm.
It'll put
Oh,
me into deep sleep, but I might be able to witness being in deep sleep. And that's exactly what happened. It felt like somebody somebody picking me up like a little kitten by the scruff of the neck, and just I was all comfortable and like the most comfortable feeling I've ever had in my life. And at that point, I didn't know if I started breathing again. Like I was okay with not breathing anymore and not knowing that I'm breathing, or like there was
wow.
right. And I'm like, where the hell am I? Drop down back on my butt. As soon as I thought something, I was out and back in because the mind turned back on. Is like, let's figure this out. So,
Oh my
but
goodness.
I found the doorway and I kept going 40 times within 4 hours, kept going in and out of this experience. So,
I think I'm a little scared to do that many shrooms.
yeah, yeah, it, I wasn't where I came from such a depressive state,
Mm,
and it
mhm.
did so much for me leading up to that point that I felt that I was doing the world a justice by navigating these things that I found inside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we're the best service to others when we can first really like do the deep internal work on ourselves
Hmm.
so we can open to be more of service.
The the most interesting thing, and this was the big realization that I had out of that whole experiment, is that when I would go into this place of complete silence, my lifelong companion tinnitus would shut off. I've had tinnitus my
Mm,
entire life.
wow.
And then as I'm waking up, like my finger would twitch a little bit, and then it would make a single tone or a click in my tinnitus. And I could hear my tinnitus slowly turning back on, and all these little click, like it sounded like dolphins talking to each other, and then it finally went into the frequency that I'm familiar with. So I was able to feel my nervous system start up. My mind was processing my sensory experience. It was building my reality. I got to witness my reality, my whole existence being created. So yeah, that was
And
pretty
what
powerful.
happened to your tinnitus? Did it come back?
Oh, my tinnitus is freaking awesome now.
It's
By
gone?
paying so close attention to it, I
Mm-hmm.
I now understand that it's tied to my sensory perception. So I
Mm.
put my hands in front of a cold air vent, and the pitch raises. Like I can literally raise and lower it just by stimulating certain senses in my body, holding my breath,
Interesting.
doing mudras, touching a crystal. Like it's so sensitive now that it adjusts frequency depending on how I'm processing sensory experience.
Okay. It's a
Yeah,
shame that like a lot of people who have tinnitus aren't doing any of these practices.
right. That's how I'm able to stay in meditation all day. As long as I'm hearing the tinnitus, it means I'm also in my body.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it's a tone, but I'm not thinking when I'm focused on it.
What do you think about people using meditation as an avoidance strategy?
Mm, it's a good one.
Isn't it?
Yeah, Yeah, it's a really good one because when you figure it out, your dopamine production increases by 60%. So
Ugh,
it's literally more fun than doing just about anything.
yeah.
So it's a good avoidance, yeah, and I was accused of avoiding a lot of stuff because 'cause I'd rather meditate all day.
Mm. And
Yeah, it can be.
do you find that you're beginning to, like, integrate back in because you've went really hard into meditating so you could master it.
Mhm.
So now are you kind of sensing, like, an integration, like, maybe back out of that and, like, having, like, a walking meditation?
Well, um, a friend of mine, David Fox, he's a he lived with a Himalayan master for 20 years, like an Agori tantric. You know, the
Mhm.
guys that they, the yogis that praise death and they wear the face paint and they smoke fat blunts all day. Like, this guy actually got to live with them for 20 years, and he was the one that he kept calling me a bodhisattva, and I didn't understand what that was because 'cause I'm not a Buddhist, and I didn't really study much of the Buddhism. It's like it's somebody who goes out as like a vanaprastha or a private Buddha, goes
Mhm.
out into the forest, learns about himself, introspection galore, you know, learning everything there is, and then gets to the state of nirvana and says, you know, I can stay here. I've learned the truth about myself. I can create my own bliss. I don't need anything else, but your compassion is so strong that you have to come back into society. And that's kind of what I did. My first book was me going inward, learning about myself and my situation, and then coming back out. Well, then I realized that I need to go through a divorce. I need to,
Oh, shit.
like, you know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
life wasn't so fluffy and fun and
No,
blissful.
it's not.
No, but
Not
coming
in the
back,
beginning. Not when you have to change
dealing,
everything.
yeah, dealing with that separation, my codependency issues, all that kind of
Oh,
stuff.
man.
And then coming, yeah, coming
Where did
back
that come?
into society, the integration. The
Mhm.
bodhisattva happens simultaneously with coming out of the vipassana state and then into society again. And I never understood what he was
So
talking about.
is the desire to go into society solely compassion based for you, or is it more
It's the
like
message.
wanting to experience life to the fullest
Oh yeah,
now?
it's without a doubt. It's that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so freaking weird. Like it just it feels like every experience is new. Even if
Mhm.
I've done it, even if I did it last week, every experience that I experience feels like it's new again. And it's almost like I've been an alien. 'Cause now I need to experience things to learn the actual truth, not what I used to think it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what's funny about truth?
Huh.
It's so paradoxical.
I know. I know. 100% because it's the truth is what we feel before we create a meaning.
Yeah.
Like if a book drops behind you and you jump, you look and you're like, "Well, that was a book." As soon as it happens again, you're not gonna jump anymore. So your mind's gonna be like, "It was a book." You just robbed yourself of the experience. You're not gonna experience that book dropping
Yeah,
every
and how,
time.
like, when we go into our rooms, we don't look at our rooms, it's just imprinted.
Yeah, yeah. It becomes part of the illusion.
Yeah.
It's just assumed,
Yeah.
and that's why you can move something in a room and not ever see it, like some people.
Man, I've been there for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah,
It's interesting that a lot of people, like, at once are waking up. I mean,
yeah.
I would say it's even accelerated in the last couple of months. I don't know if you felt the energies.
Oh, yeah, yeah, the
Yeah,
energy has been pretty intense. Like, I haven't been able
very.
to write or anything. It's these rhythms that I've been noticing over the past couple years, and I document when I feel a certain way, when I experience something. These freaking karmic loops that keep coming around. It's the same thing happening every year at the
The
same
threads
time.
of the
With
samskaras.
yeah, yeah, and it's like they happen so much and so often now that I have to laugh about it because if you make a meaning to it, then it's going to happen again. But
Mm,
if you laugh
mhm.
it, you make fun of it, you have levity, you experience it, it's probably not going to come back around. That's how you kind of like dissolve that karmic loop.
Yeah,
Awesome.
it's fun realizing your patterns though, especially like when you're
Yep.
seeing it and you can't do anything about it this time around. It's like, oh, huh, yep,
Yeah. Yeah, but you see it. You get caught in your own ego trap, and then after your ego is done with it, then you see it and you're like, "Oh, shoot.
yeah.
All right. I guess I better journal that one."
Oh, I've had a lot of that this year.
Mhm.
Huh.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been a year.
hmm I'm excited to see what like the next 6 months to a year is going to hold. In August, I'm planning to go to Denmark to study Kundalini bodywork.
Ooh.
So I'm so excited about that. I'm like really making that happen somehow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would it in that's more of the more the tantric, the movement, like the
Yeah,
forceful
like you're just
breathing.
kind of like, I don't even know. So I had a vision that I was doing that work. And then, like a couple weeks later, I'm on Facebook and I saw somebody who was teaching that work. And I was like, oh my God, that is what I saw myself doing.
Okay.
So, yeah, I can't wait.
Fun. I've
hmm
tried that a couple times.
Yeah. What was it like?
Uh, it brought out a lot of trauma I didn't know I had. Started crying and stuff.
hmm
And then, of course, the people next to me started crying and they had no idea why. And that's when I learned about energy transference.
Oh, yeah.
And that was 3 months ago. So I never
Do
studied
you know a
anything
good practitioner around here? I would like to try it
for what?
for the Kundalini activation process.
No. Well, yoga village. I know they teach it there. But
It's
in
called like, what is it called?
I think they have a good Kundalini teacher there.
Okay,
Yeah, I'm
cool.
not sure but it's called Yoga Village.
Yoga
It's
Village.
yeah, it's a pretty neat place.
Okay. Yeah, I would
It's
really like to try it before I go and learn it.
yeah, yeah, they got regular classes.
I've
I've never
taken
taken one, but I know the teacher.
So is it like a class?
Yeah,
Okay. Where
yeah, it's a
you're
class.
learning how to do this like specific energy work with people or you're receiving it?
I want to say it's evoking it in yourself.
Okay.
Like it's a familiarization with the practice of evoking the feelings and the Kundalini.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so this one is more kind of like the tantric practice where you get in the masculine, the practitioner gets in the masculine.
Mhm.
So the feminine can just kind of like flow in the person receiving. And like people like go into all kinds of spontaneous movement and yeah, like you said, crying. But I do want to go to that class.
Wow.
That sounds amazing. I have not had any like luck with finding good Kundalini yoga classes around here.
Huh.
However, I live in Tampa. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, I don't know too many around here either. I know there was I don't know. Yeah. I didn't do a whole lot of research on Kundalini because I'm not into the f- the forceful exercises or
hmm
the flowing or just the straight up imagining, using your imagination.
Oh, when the Kundalini's ready to rise, she's just going to rise spontaneously. That's what
Right.
happened to me last year. I wasn't thinking about Kundalini or anything like that,
So
and
how
it
did
just
that happen?
happened. Huh?
Like what were you doing when that happened and how did it feel?
Okay. So it was like a month before the huge event.
Mhm.
I started feeling like little tingles kind of like going up my spine like this. Like little it kind of felt like effervescent bubbles a little bit
Oh,
with a
that's a
little
good
bit of
way of yeah.
huh?
That's a good way of explaining it.
Yeah, with a little bit of like heat
Uh-huh.
and I would experience some turn on.
Mhm.
So then I connected with my previous partner and this was when we just connected and we realized that we were activating one another and he was in another state completely. And we're like, okay, cool, let's meditate together.
Mhm.
So we meditated together, and when we did that, I had the full Kundalini awakening. It was like, whew. And then I was turned on for like 2 months straight.
Mhm.
I was like, how is this sustainable? So I was like transmuting the energy while I was like massaging at work until like I would bring the energy up and just kind of like transmute it through my heart and out my hands.
Mhm.
But it was really intense.
Like,
And
was
it
it like an almost like an overstimulation? Like you're overly sensitive to everything?
a little bit, and like the bubbles would just come up at random times. I'd be driving in my car, and all of a sudden, do 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 do, like we were able to have like connection on the astral, and like even like lights in my bathroom light went out like 30
Mhm.
minutes before we were like meeting astrally, and then it turned on as soon as we like connected. Like the light went out. Like I needed to change the light bulb, but then I didn't need to change it anymore. So
Wow.
there's just so much going on with this process than more than we can like possibly understand.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I don't know. I don't know much about anything external, what we project. I know that we project something and I can project it, but I have no idea how or what it does.
Yeah, and
Some
like
kind of
learning to master that, I think.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, that was it. Ultimately resulted in I was doing some tantric embodiment work. I was working with this journey into Persephone and Hades, and it was the last session, and I was being basically like crowned by Persephone. I've already like reconnected with Hades in the session before, 7 sessions.
Wow.
So then I went to Sprouts after this last session, and all of a sudden I have a heart center awakening in the store.
Huh.
Like it just was like just like shooting off, and it like I just giggled and giggled. It was so fun.
I've had one of those before.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. The first time I tried out bhakti yoga,
Mm.
I being an atheist most of my life, I'm like, okay, now that I understand this whole imagination thing and how it stimulates certain dimensions of our behavior and our emotion, let me try to meditate on Jesus as an atheist. And there's a reason why they paint and depict him a certain way. Like you see a certain aspect of yourself. Everybody can see an aspect of themselves in the painting.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
yeah, and
That's
I did.
wild.
I did the whole practice of, the pendulum of invoking the love that he had and then feeling it and then going back and forth. And I only did it like 2 or 3 times. And then it just felt all of a sudden like the air around me got thick, like
Hmm.
gravity weight, like was weighing me down more. And it was just this intense, just, like sorrow and just love all at the same time and compassion. And I'm like, oh,
Wow.
it just felt so heavy. I had to
Yeah.
get out of it.
So the
Was
heaviness, what do you think that was? Do you think that is kind of like the karmic load of the divine masculine?
I just think it was a very, very powerful emotion. It's the only
Okay.
thing I can like it, but it was so powerful that it was exuding outwards. It felt like I was loving the air around me and the air was
Mm,
solidifying
yes.
around me.
Okay, I see what you're saying now.
Like I was, yeah, like I was almost like I was wearing a fat suit of love and it was
So
just
not
suffocating.
heavy as in like dense, but heavy as
Right.
in like, or was it dense?
It felt dense. It
Mm-hmm.
felt like it was like I weighed more, like gravity was increasing on me.
Wow.
Be a better way, like I was being pulled down and weighed down.
Yes. I've been working with the frequencies of Yeshua and Mary Magdalene.
Mhm. Hmm.
Yeah.
Went through like how?
What do you mean how?
Like,
Oh,
the practices?
the times that I have like in the beginning were pretty spontaneous. One happened during intimacy. I saw my partner's Jesus.
Hmm.
It was like, whoa, it was like really it to integrate that one took me a little bit. And
Yeah.
then like I would just start working like when I was doing something in meditation, I would feel the energy of like Yeshua or something. Like that like Christ consciousness energy
Mhm.
just kind of like in my field.
Mhm.
And then I have just been like calling on Mary Magdalene in my sessions with clients and just working with her frequency by just learning how it feels in my body when I call in that frequency or when I embody that archetype,
Yeah. Good word.
you know. So it's like I those are the archetypes I work with the most when I'm doing union practices. Um because it's not about outer union, right? Really, it's about inner union, and then it'll eventually reflect in the outer worlds of like your relationships and your community and everything.
Yeah. It's funny you say Jungian archetypes, because that my ultimate method at the end of the book is called it's an archetype meditation based off of that, and how we
Mm.
can evoke our shadow archetype to do the shadow work, to do the painful stuff. Um, you have 12 dimensions of human behavior,
Yes.
and Carl Jung has them all out. The hero and the villain, uh, I can't remember them all right now, but each one of them, each archetype has its shadow. So if you play the archetype in meditation and you use the person that pushes your buttons the most, you enable this prediction mechanism that would create our anxiety, but you do it mindfully in meditation, it will bring you to that jolt that I've been talking about really quickly, but it has a different effect. You'll actually experience a different dimension of subconscious.
So does
So,
this have anything to do with the anima and the animus?
um, hmm,
Like the inner counter sex part, like you have
yes,
an anima, which is your inner feminine, and I have an
yeah.
animus, which is my inner masculine. I also have an anima, right? But just kind
Mhm.
of like invoking the dance of those two archetypes within.
Right. Exactly. So if you're the hero, somebody's got to be the villain.
Yeah.
If you mine started off with
It's like
identity.
internal polarity work.
Yes. Yeah. Using your prediction mechanism but using it as an imaginary outcome. So you're trying to create an inner movie. You're developing an inner cinema, so to speak. So
Okay.
you want these archetypes to have it out with each other, one way
Yeah.
or another, and you're going to see your capabilities, what you're capable of doing to this
And this
person.
is shadow integration.
Yeah. This
Yeah.
is evoking your shadow, evoking your this even Jordan Peterson talks a lot about this, about like knowing what you're capable of doing.
Mm-hmm.
This is the practice, is how you do it. Is you got to do it mindfully. If you have a disagreement with somebody, a coworker, don't don't fuel the fire there. Bring that back home with you in meditation, and you sit with
Oh
it.
yes.
Yeah,
No like reacting, like
right, right. And then you play it out again in your mind's eye, in your inner theater, and then
mhm.
something happens. I've had some extremely virtual reality type scenarios happen just from trying to predict how a conversation is going to go with
What
somebody.
do you mean virtual reality
Oh,
situations
it's
happen?
once you get past that jolt and you're in one of
Are you
these
saying like in meditation you kind of create that or you create
it
like a
just
transmutation of that?
it happens. Like, all right, so let's say I'm talking with my wife, and I'm telling her uh what to pick up from the grocery store, and she's saying we need to do something else, and you're just the back and forth. So you are playing both roles by
Mhm.
predicting what this person enough that you can predict what she says. At some point during that conversation, your mind is gonna fall asleep. You're gonna go into the hypnagogic
Oh,
state,
okay. Mhm.
and then that's when things become really vibrant. Like, she turned into a princess, and I turned into a dragon in one of them, and it was like I was wearing a
That's
virtual
cool.
reality. Yeah, and there's another shock, you're just like, "What the heck did I just see?" And you wanna go back in, but it's gone forever.
Yeah, it's almost
Never
like you don't even need, uh, psychedelics.
exactly, exactly, I don't. There is no darkness behind these eyes anymore.
Yes.
There's always something moving and yeah, perceiving.
So what are you excited about in the next 6 months?
Oh, definitely the book release.
When is that being released? Oh, yeah, you said soon.
Yeah, hopefully by the end of March, if I can
Sweet.
stay focused on it long enough.
Yeah. Ah,
That's
that's
the big thing.
exciting.
That's the big then my, once the divorce is over, then I'll be able to start other businesses and start living life, living the second half of life.
Yes,
Yeah,
beautiful.
yeah, yeah.
Awesome. So what do you think has been, did I ask you this already, the most profound change that you've experienced from all this work?
It would probably be the results from the journaling,
Oh, yeah.
the understanding my emotional dysregulation, which is something everybody with ADHD has.
Oh,
That
yeah.
that that going what do they call it? We have a mind that's like a Ferrari with no brakes.
Are you familiar with Gabramonte's work?
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yep,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
interesting, like, how the traumas in our body affect, our how we are, like, if we have ADD or not, or Baxter, can you chill out for a minute, please?
She's like,
He knows how to get anything from me if he wants to keep doing this.
mhm,
Okay, go lay down.
yeah,
Do you want to meet him? He's really cute.
sure.
Come here. Uh-uh. You have to make an appearance on my podcast, okay? It's really quick. All right, everybody, this is Baxter.
He's a pupper with a mohawk, little puff.
I think he wants like a second ice cream. Awesome. So the book is coming out, and
Yep.
you said you're starting a school too?
Yeah, yeah,
Sweet.
I have been teaching privately, one-on-one,
Mm-hmm.
some people. I'm gonna probably start a weekly workshop, hopefully, maybe biweekly. And I have the friend of mine and that's the Himalayan master or whatever. He
Mm-hmm.
invited me to this summit where there's 5 or 6 other really really good teachers, and each one of us has a different way of teaching the same truths, so to speak.
Ah, that sounds amazing.
Yeah, yeah. So that's gonna be exciting.
When is that?
Not sure. It's soon, I think, because he's putting it all together. Um,
Okay.
right now, it's just still in the planning stages and the naming
So how do
stage.
people find you if they want to work with you?
Through Facebook,
Okay.
generally.
I'll put
Find
all of
me.
that in the show notes and everything.
Yeah, just my personal profile for right now,
Okay.
and reach out through instant messenger. And I give free advice all the time. I love answering questions. They say that once you understand the truth, you can't charge for it because it's basically teaching people awareness.
Yeah.
It's like what do they say? It's selling nothing. So you're not selling anything.
No. I mean, sometimes the journey to that, though, like the journey to the truth, like
Yeah,
you can be someone's guide to that. And, that, of course, you have to charge for.
right,
But, like, yeah, there's a lot of discernment that needs to be in place for that. There's so
right.
many, like, egoic pitfalls and, um, like, I don't know where I was going with that.
Just a lot of understanding,
Yeah.
and it's from what I've seen in my own journey is too much knowledge is going to hold you back. Too much practice is going to hold you back. There has
Definitely, that's a good point. You have to find a really good balance.
and you have to keep flowing back and forth. You have to
Mhm.
get to the point where you catch yourself saying, "I'm studying way too much." Like I know everything about
True.
Sanskrit, but what's that
Yeah.
going to do for you? Unless you got to come back to reality. You got to stay away from it. Let that settle for a while. Let that wave go away,
Mhm.
and yeah, go back into the practice. So it's like my practice of Indriyaga is too much of sensory stimulation and focusing on your senses could overly heighten that particular sense and give you issues. But they say that the more you look, the more there is to see.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
It's, like, never done, right?
right, right. And the same thing when you learn how to meditate. You can go too quick, too fast.
Mhm.
So learn what you're feeling.
Okay,
That's
that's really good advice.
yeah. Yeah, feel it first, then go research it. Figure out what you just felt, but don't label it.
Right.
Say,
And don't, like, research something and then go look for that feeling, right?
mhm. Right, well, yeah.
Or
Like,
can you do that?
so if you feel something, I found that it's best to study your nervous system.
Mhm. Oh,
Figure
yeah,
out where
nervous
that
system
that
healing and
nerve
everything.
yeah, just become more mechanical. Like, your body is a biomechanical machine, and your brain is the gadget that can stimulate it.
Okay, and you found that helpful to, like, focus?
Yeah, yeah. For
Sweet.
me, it did. I have a mechanical brain. I'm a AC guy.
Yeah, yeah. I love it because everybody's so different and we all have, like, different approaches to what really gets us in there.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Uh,
beautiful.
one of the quick practices that I like to teach people is have you ever had these moments where you're just kind of like staring off into nowhere? Like you're just blank staring, maybe at
Yeah.
the wall. You're not focusing. You don't look at a dot. You're just kind of spread out.
Mhm.
And then somebody comes up and they're like, "What are you thinking about?" And I, nothing. That it's like they call it the 1,000-yard stare.
Yeah.
That is literally your body, your mind telling your ego to shut up, go away, shut down, because our nervous system needs to relax. That's
Ah,
a forced meditation. So when you
okay.
do it mindfully, just bring your periphery as wide as possible and just keep trying to make it wider and wider and wider. You're not seeing anything, you're not focused on anything. That is a meditation. You're mechanically putting yourself into a low key hypnosis in a way,
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
into
I
your
I'm a
subconscious.
hypnotherapist, and I work, like, with that, like, having people expand it out, then bring it back in, and then, like, put it here. It's like
Well,
an NLP thing.
mhm. It was really weird when you did that. Like your picture went out of focus.
Really?
Yeah, it was kinda cool.
Huh. Yeah, Zoom has been doing that, like, it, like, pops in and out. I think it
Yeah,
just did it again.
it did,
Yeah.
but it was good timing. It was synchronicity. Happened
Well,
for a reason.
thank you for coming on tonight. This has been such a lovely conversation.
Yeah. Thank you for inviting me.
Of course. Is there anything else that you would like to share with, my future viewers?
Um, no, just
No?
you're probably gonna have to watch this quite a few times to grasp all the everything that we talked about.
There was a lot in there, yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot that needs to be absorbed.
Awesome. All right. Well, have a lovely evening.
You too. Thank you.